What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for episode 8 of A Man and His Bricks, my podcast series that is barely hanging in there. I keep feeling like and keep thinking that I'm going to revive the series and start doing it more regularly, and then other more important videos come up. Life happens, I get busy, which I guess is a good thing. This means I'm constantly pulling in new important content that needs to come out. But I would like to make these a little bit more of a priority too, just because they're fun for me, and I feel like there are people out there who really enjoy these as well. For those of you who are watching for the first time or don't remember, this podcast is split into 3 segments. The first is Life of an AFOL. That's where I kind of go behind the scenes of Coconut Brick Studios and talk a little bit more about my thought processes, principles, mindsets, just everything surrounding like the channel and myself. Just kind of like, a little look behind the scenes. Segment number 2 is a themed Q&A. This episode's theme is affording Lego sets and mocks, I believe, which I got some really good questions. I think I got the most I've ever gotten so far, so really excited to dive into those. And then the third and last one is kind of like a creator highlight or spotlight, where I take a look at an up-and-coming YouTube channel that I really like, and especially that's kind of underrated, maybe a little bit, smaller, and kind of talk about things that I like and share their content with you guys. All that being said, this week's going to be a banger. I quit my job a couple of weeks ago, started one of the largest Lego Star Wars mock projects I've ever done. And of course, we're talking about how to buy even more Lego with a great creator spotlight at the end. So grab a snack, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Life of an AFOL. Obviously, it's been wild times. For those of you who don't know, I quit my job a couple of weeks ago to do YouTube full-time. It came a little bit sooner than expected, which was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I've kind of recovered from that, kind of moved on from that, and now I'm going forward full swing with this YouTube stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. So there are a few things that I kind of want to talk about surrounding that, and the first is it's nice to finally realize or be able to implement my vision and goal for making this channel big and doing what I want to do with it to its fullest extent. I've been on YouTube for over 3 years now, and from the beginning, I knew I wanted to do certain things with this channel. Now that's changed and developed a lot. Like definitely the vision I had then and the vision I had now are different in some respects, but in others they're still the same. And so I knew, fairly early on, I knew that like, okay, I want to start doing large scale mocks, and there are other things that I want to start doing with this channel that I know will help propel it forward. The problem was I didn't have the money. I didn't have the time to do those things because I still, needed to work full time to pay for everything. And that took up so much time and energy. And for a while, there was a healthy balance between the two. I was like, one day, I'll be able to do this and this with this channel. And that was enough, and that kept me satisfied. But, as time went on and my other job continued to wear me down, I started to get more frustrated, feeling like, man, we have to wait years, to make this happen and to be able to do the things that I want to do with this channel. And so it's been very nice to kind of be able to shed that burden and kind of get rid of those feelings of frustration. And I kind of want to talk about like why I made this decision, because, it kind of came out of nowhere. Like if you had told me 4 months ago I would have quit my job this year, I would have been like, no way. Because just no. But I was watching a video from Star Wars Theory. I don't watch a ton of his videos. I'm more interested in his like entrepreneurial and YouTube side of things than like his Star Wars lore. There are some videos I'm interested in, but I really like just his mindset towards YouTube and growing and kind of, paving your own path. And he was talking about how, he was a real estate agent for a while and made really good money, but he hated it. And he felt like he was adding nothing to the world, like he basically was connecting rich people with giant homes and then making money. And he felt very unsatisfied with that. And so he decided, to leave that and pursue his true passion, which was Star Wars and YouTube. And obviously you've seen, those of you who are familiar with the channel have seen what he's done from there. And I don't know, for some reason, just at that particular point in time, I think my mind was sufficiently ready and kind of like, I was at a point mentally to really kind of intake that and realize like at some point I'm going to have to make the tough choice of setting aside comfort and money to pursue what I want. You know what I mean? Like I don't know when that point would come where I'd be making full-time money, be making more on YouTube than I was working while still working full-time. Like I would have to put in the effort of a full-time YouTuber to be able to make that kind of money, if that makes sense. And I realized like, eventually I'm just going to have to take this leap, and why not take that leap sooner rather than later? And so that's kind of why it came about this year and came about so fast, because I was planning on a much slower transition. But I'm really happy with my decision. I'm at peace with it. And so far, you know, knock on wood or fingers crossed or whatever, things have been going really well. There has been a lot of growth on the channel, both monetarily with subscribers, likes, all the stuff, which is a good sign and shows me like, okay, that vision and what I told myself I was going to do is coming to fruition already. So hopefully I can keep that moving. Now, enough of all those ramblings. I kind of want to talk about like what's changed, because I went from framing houses, which is a very physically demanding job, all day long in the heat some days, to just being my own boss and basically being able to do whatever I want. And it's been kind of a tough adjustment, honestly. Like that's been the hardest thing. Like making more videos and increasing my workload on YouTube hasn't been that bad. It's been figuring out like, what do I do all day, every day? Like, what do I do with my life? What do I do with myself? Because I want to really kind of put together a good structure where I wake up, at a certain time, exercise, eat breakfast, go to work, and have this whole structure. And I have it written out, but it's hard to implement it because I'm just having to switch my mindset of like hourly and externally motivated to more like project-based, internally motivated. What I mean by that is typically, when you work at a job, you get paid by the hour. So however many hours you work, that's how much you get paid. But with YouTube, that's not the case. It's however many videos you put out and how well those videos do is how much money you make. And so, there are days where I'm stressed because I feel like I have to be working the whole day to feel like this YouTube thing's going to work. But I'm trying to switch that mindset of like, hey, that's not how this works anymore. It's more important to do a good quality video, however long that takes. If I work 4 hours, then I have the rest of the day to do other things. That was the original goal for this, that to have a more flexible schedule and to be able to do what I want more with my life. And so I don't need to feel guilty or stressed about that. So it's been interesting trying to find that work-life balance of like, I don't have to be doing something every second. I can relax a little bit and focus more on like putting out good quality videos instead of like how many hours that I spend working on YouTube. Another tough thing I've been trying to work on is like figuring out what to do in my free time to help alleviate burnout and to kind of rejuvenate and refresh myself. Because before I'd go to work and I'd come home and I'd do YouTube, and that was like, that's what got me pumped and, reinvigorated. But now, doing YouTube all day, it's like, okay, what do you do after that? I've ended up just doing more YouTube. And so I'm trying to figure out like, maybe I'm trying to like reawaken some of my old hobbies, because for a while it was like work and YouTube. And so now I have more time to exercise. I've got more time to read. I've started playing basketball again. And I'm trying to like bring these things that I do just for fun. Like, it got to a point where like I was only doing things that made me money or furthered some kind of, long-term goal. Whereas now I'm trying to bring those things back in that, I'm never going to be a professional basketball player, but I'm trying to just get myself to play basketball more because I really enjoy it. And I think in turn, the benefit of doing those types of things that have no real monetary or like tangible benefit to you is it helps refresh you and just makes you happier. And time spent away from working is time that your body is refreshing itself, rejuvenating itself, healing itself, if that makes sense. So they do have their place in life, definitely, in a way. But I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to bring. Oh, Coruscant, one last thing. Large scale Lego Star Wars mock Coruscant has started. Episode 1 dropped yesterday. So if you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend checking it out. It's going to be an awesome series. I feel something special with this series. I feel like this mock is the culmination of many years of mock projects. I couldn't have done something like this even a year ago. And so I'm really excited to see what I can do with this mock, because I have this vision and this picture for what I want to do with this that's much more clear than my previous mocks. And I just have this feeling like, wow, I can really do something pretty cool here if I can make this work and figure it out. So I'm really excited to see what happens with it. I'm also really excited to really have time and effort to more time and effort to put into the mock building updates and actually sitting down and building this mock, instead of like, okay, I got an hour here that I need to build and film something. Whereas now I can be like, I'm just going to build for a while, or I'm just going to film this. And so I feel like the detail of this mock is going to be unparalleled, like compared to my previous mocks. And I'm really excited for it. And also I want to give a huge thank you to you guys for the support that episode 1 has received. I think as of right now, let me check and see what the numbers are. It's been out for one day, 24 hours, and it's got almost 5,000 views. And just the people sharing it on Instagram, the comments, everything. I knew people were excited, but I was legitimately blown away with how much support I've been getting for this. And the new Patreon members as well. Just huge thank you guys. Like, it means a lot, and this, I could not have asked for a better start to this project. Got most of my ramblings out of the way. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing this podcast, is because obviously that kind of stuff doesn't usually come out during my Lego videos, because those are about Lego and I want to keep it that way. So this video is for those people who are kind of like-minded to myself and interested in doing the same kinds of things, or the same kind of mindsets and principles and ways of life, that I can kind of share what I've learned and what works and doesn't work with me with you guys. Anyways, moving on to the themed Q&A. Like I said, it's how to afford Lego MOCs and Lego sets. First question is from SWbricks. Question: what are the parts you would say are the most important for a large variety of MOCs that could be reused frequently in different MOCs? Example, colors or specific parts. The hard thing about this is, like, there are so many parts that you can use. Like, I could list off so many parts, like even in this Jabim MOC sitting in front of me, there's so many different kinds. But having done large scale MOCs, I would say slopes. Slopes are really important because you can create rockworks. I don't know why I said rockworks. Walls, bases, buildings, ships, roads, streets, platform-based, so many different things. Like, I know people like to tease me and stuff for all the dark tan slopes and bricks I have. Think about how many MOCs I've done with those. And I know it's all been walls, but like different kinds of walls, huge walls, different styles and shapes. And so slopes are really important and pretty useful in pretty much every color. And I'm not talking about just like the big 1x slopes. You got also the smaller cheese slopes and the little 1x2 curved slopes. I don't remember what all the different names are, but I have found myself increasingly buying more and more of those to use for all different kinds of things. Vehicles, so many different things. And so I would definitely recommend, keep an eye on slopes. Really try and, when you can, pick up different kinds of slopes in the different colors that you need. It's hard to say color just because that dictates what MOC you're doing, you know what I mean? And so depending on what kind of MOCs you like to do, there might be a certain color you might lean towards. But I would say slopes are a good investment. Another piece, probably this one might be kind of obvious, but the 1x1 headlight brick with the stud on one side, you can use those in tandem with the slopes for basically everything I just listed off. I find myself buying a lot of those, especially for like Coruscant. But that's a good question though, because that's been something I've been asking myself recently of like, when I go to buy a part, I'm like, how many times can I use this part? Like, yeah, I have this cool idea for this, but are there cheaper parts that I could use to make the same shape, but I could use in future MOCs? So kind of keep that in mind as well when you're buying parts on Bricklink. Kind of sit there and think like, what else could I do with this? Even if you don't have to have a whole MOC plan, but like, what are different structures, shapes, and things I could do with this particular piece? Next question comes from SWbricks and Figs. He says, how often do you use Lego.com replacement parts? And do you find it more or less affordable than Bricklink? I find it better than Bricklink for some pieces, but worse in a lot of ways. I'd agree with that statement. I don't use it a whole lot. I much prefer Bricklink. Mostly because of like pricing and shipping. I think Lego's gotten a little bit better with their shipping, but I was getting packages like 3 months after I ordered them. And as a MOC builder who does weekly building segments, I can't wait 3 months for parts. And so they're just not very reliable to me. The upside is their parts are always brand new, which is nice. And some parts I've found are cheaper on Lego.com than on Bricklink. Like the dark bluish gray cheese slopes, I got a ton of those for much cheaper on Lego. So I would just say, kind of compare. And, if you have a piece that you need a lot of, maybe check Lego.com, check Bricklink. The other thing about Bricklink is you have, limited parts per store. Like you can only, let's say you find a piece that you really need and it's in a store, but you only need 5 other pieces in that store. Now you have to pay shipping for just those 5 pieces or whatever you need. Whereas Lego.com, it all comes from the same place. You can make as big of an order as you want and, all different kinds of pieces they might, but that being said, they don't have as much variety as Bricklink does. So pros and cons to both. I would say, using them in tandem is a good way to go. Okay, next question comes from liamm. He says, well, to start, I'd like to know how you keep track of sets you'd like to buy. I end up scouring eBay for 20 minutes a day trying to find older Star Wars sets for cheap, but it's hard to keep track of a lot of them at once. Maybe I should just decide which set I'd like and focus on that, but I don't like missing opportunities. I don't really buy sets anymore, so I I don't do this as much, but I went back when I was buying lots of sets and into set reviews and stuff. I was kind of doing the same thing. One thing I would recommend is saving searches on eBay. I don't know if you do this, but you can pick like a keyword, whatever keyword you search, you can save it to where you get either email, text, or both notifications whenever something new is listed. So I'm always getting notifications from different sets, from different kinds of sets on eBay, and I can just, check instead of having to search every time, scroll through. They show me the new one that pops up. This allows me to keep track of tons of different sets and kind of pick from there. And I feel like I'm able to find good deals pretty quickly that way. Next question comes from WorkLife Studios. He says, how to afford Lego as a kid/teen? You might not be able to give advice on this, but maybe any experience. First off, I don't know, that one made me laugh because he said you might not be able to give advice. I was a kid. I was a teen. I grew up. Like, I have some advice. This one, I mean, I have advice, but it's very situational because everybody's family situation is different. We all have different opportunities financially. I was lucky as a kid to have parents who really believed in like earning money. I didn't get a monthly allowance, weekly allowance, or whatever. We had chores or things I could do to earn money. So, you have your regular daily chores and stuff. And then on top of that, if I wanted to earn some money, I could go out, weed the garden, paint a room, clean out the garbage, clean out the garage, other stuff like that to earn money. So that's how I afforded pretty much all of the Lego I bought as a kid, was just earning money and doing side jobs. I started a lawn mowing business for a little bit, mowed some lawns to earn money. And then, when I was old enough, I just got a job. Really, there's no like get rich quick schemes for children, same with adults. Like, it's just kind of like, find those opportunities. Ask your parents if you can work out something where you work and they buy the sets for you. They give you money. Just try and figure. I feel like, I'm obviously not a parent, but I would imagine parents are, when financially able, willing to kind of work with children to teach them earning money, saving money, buying things, because those are real life skills. Those are things you have to be able to survive. So I would imagine a lot of parents, obviously if you go up and you're like, hey, I need this Lego set, will you buy it for me? They're probably going to say no. But if you have some kind of work through or some kind of like plan of like, here, I'll do this if you're able to help me out and help me get this, they might be a little bit more willing. That being said, just, it's kind of up to family situations, but that's kind of what my experience was of me doing chores, saving that money, and then spending it on Lego. SWbricks says, podcast question. Where do you go / what do you use for reference to your mocks? Everything and anything possible. Like when I framed houses, I would look at the mountains. I would look at dirt mounds. I would look at the way rocks gathered and dirt gathered when they were dropped. I would look at the way things were built. So I used a ton of inspiration from nature because that's what I'm trying to create is terrain. And so I'm like, okay, how does nature react and how does it mold and change in real life? And how can I best emulate or copy that in my mocks? And I also look at pictures, like when building Cato Nemoidia, I'd look at pictures of cliffs and plateaus and rock walls and see like, how do these erode? What shapes do they form? Why do they form those shapes? Try and recreate those things. Another thing I use is images online. Obviously, TV shows, movies from Star Wars. There are a lot of like screenshots or clips on YouTube and books. I'm reading Labyrinth of Evil right now, and I got it specifically for Coruscant because it's a prequel to Star Wars Episode 3. So it's the events prior to that movie, and it sets up that movie, and there are parts that take place on Coruscant. So I bought it in hopes of really seeing and visualizing through the book, like what did the ground levels of Coruscant look like? Because instead of being up in a spaceship like in Star Wars Episode 3 and battling and only seeing it from a distance, I get to kind of, in a way, look through the eyes of, the characters and see what they see on Coruscant and kind of get a little bit more of a micro scale vision of what it looks like. Hopefully, I haven't finished it yet, but that was kind of the plan behind buying that book. Okay, the next question comes from Starmax. He's got a big old novel of a question. He says, as far as question for the next episode, what do you think of investing in custom figs vehicles, weapons with limited budget for your Lego builder development? I often receive questions or messages encouraging me to invest in custom clone troopers or custom weapons. I'm of the opinion that it's better to buy more parts for future projects, especially in the early days, than one fig. For example, 2 custom figs, I would have to spend at least $60, which could get me about 500 to 600 parts. What's your take on this? I've never had anyone tell me to buy custom stuff as investments because I feel like custom stuff doesn't necessarily accrue as much value But I've definitely seen it on like the Lego investing side of like, oh, buy this set for these minifigures and they'll be worth this much one day, or buy this minifigure now and he'll be worth this much then. I don't buy into that anymore. I don't really do it. I was big into that for a while, and I'm kind of the same mindset of you, StarMax, of like, money to me spent on parts is going to yield a better return than buying a minifigure because of how focused my channel is on mock building. Buying a minifigure that's going to sit up here, not maybe be in one video, versus building a mock project that's going to end up getting me 500,000 views is going to be worth much more in the long run, if that makes sense. And here's the thing about minifigures. Like, yeah, you buy one and it's worth $150. You sell it and that's it. You made like maybe $80. So you really need to buy lots of minifigures for it to be a serious form of financial income or serious benefit. Because I buy and sell stuff, and you buy one thing and sell one thing, and you basically either have to not spend that money or immediately spend it on another investment piece in order to really make anything, if that makes sense. Because like, let's say for example, I buy a minifigure for $50. He's worth $100. Sell him for $100. Made my $50 back and then got $50. If I spend that $50 on, let's say, like McDonald's in the movies or something, now I'm back to square one. So now I have to take that $50 and just immediately put it back into something else, which to me seems like a lot of work to have money, but like the money's always tied up somewhere else. Whereas these mock projects, people are always watching them. They're always getting more views and they're always growing. Obviously, that's different for other people's situations. I know there are people who make money doing that, but I just have my focus and goals on other things. Another question from Concordia Eclipse. He says, overall, Coconut, what method do you use to allocate a good amount of funding to Lego spending without finding yourself overspending, even though some things out there are just so irresistibly have to have? This one, that's a battle that's fought daily. Like I can wake up one morning and just be like, I need to have that Queen Amidala minifigure. I have to have it. It's going to be worth this much. And that kind of goes back to the previous question of like, it'll be worth this much. And like, I'll have this investment, I'll made this much money. But, it's all about setting the right vision and mindset for oneself. For me, I decided if I'm going to quit my channel and if I'm going to quit my job, and do my YouTube channel full time, I owe it to my wife, to myself, and to the channel to put my best foot forward and to put my effort into growing that channel. And so each decision now has turned from, do I want this set? Do I not want this set? To, is this for the betterment of the channel, or is this just something I want? And I don't really buy things that I just want anymore. I have to have some way of like, how is this benefiting the channel, and how is this going to make me money again in some way? And that's different for some people. Some people might be like, I only buy things that I want, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. The difference with me, is this has changed from a hobby to a career path. And so now I'm making, these are definitely more business transactions. And so that's kind of how I allocate my money now, is like, okay, what is this going towards exactly? Not like, oh, yeah, I can't spend any money on Lego. I still spend money on Lego. I don't spend more, but like I still spend it, but it's definitely more focused and more, each purchase is more meaningful and much more thought out, if that makes sense. So like those irresistible have to haves you were talking about, I still have those, but I'm able to differentiate like have to have because I want it versus have to have because this is going to be in next week's mock update and I need this to finish a project, if that makes sense. And it's been really cool to see, and it's made me happier, and I feel like has made me less guilty about buying Lego, because I now see like, okay, instead of just always telling myself, don't buy Lego, I'm now like, I can buy this because I know what I'm going to be doing with this, and this is going to bring me benefit, or this is going to benefit me. Okay, it's a lot of questions. Next question from Tomahawk456. How do you make a bricklink cart? So you just go to a bricklink store, find the parts you want, and click add to cart. And that's how you make the bricklink cart. And then you go up to the corner when you're done where the little green button is with the shopping cart, and then that'll take you through the purchasing process. Okay, I think that's everybody's questions. If I missed yours, I'm really sorry. I went through and tried to make sure I got them all. I loved it. I love the questions. They honestly make this video or this podcast way better than if it was just me talking. The next episode's theme is going to be Let's see, I wrote it down. The future of the Lego Star Wars theme. So anything to do with the Lego Star Wars theme, is it going up? Is it declining? What's wrong with it? What's good about it? What needs to change? What is changing? Anything to do with that. And come at me with your, questions, discussions, all that. And if you don't have a question, but like a talking point you would like to, hit up or address, just put that in the comment and I will talk about it as well. Anyways, that wraps up the Q&A. On to the third and final segment, and that is like the creator spotlight. I feel like creator spotlight belongs to someone else. Like, I feel like I got that from somewhere, so I'm trying to think of like a different name for it. Up and coming creators, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, this episode is going to be about Brickmad Sam. Some of you guys might be familiar with Brickmad Sam. He's a regular on the channel. Probably seen his, you probably already subscribed to him too, but if not, he is a really solid YouTuber. My first interaction with Brickmad was actually during a mock contest hosted by Brickanics. Me, Brickanics, and SWbricks and Figs were judging it, and Brickmad Sam entered his mock into the contest. I think it was Ahsoka on Corvus, I believe. I don't know if that's the right name, but it's the planet from The Mandalorian where it's all foggy and misty. Ahsoka shows up and takes down that city, and then that's where the Mandalorian wins his Beskar spear. Anyways, as soon as I saw this mock, like, I was blown away. That's actually the one I picked. That was my pick, because we each got to pick one, I think. I don't remember how exactly the judging went, but I remember I picked that one as like the one that I hoped was going to win. I don't remember. I'm sorry, Brickanics. I don't remember how your contests work, but it ended up winning the whole thing, and rightfully so. It was an incredible mock, but what stood out to me was the presentation of the mock. It was all misty. It was dark. Like, the mock seemed huge, and then I saw it lit up, and it was actually fairly small. And I was just blown away with how well he was able to tell that story through, footage, editing, and special effects and visual effects. He also has a background in animation, and you can definitely see that apparent on his YouTube channel. He's also just a great guy. I like talking with him on Instagram. He's one of those people you can just hit up. I ask him for advice all the time. He gives me good, honest feedback, which I really appreciate. So I'm going to put a link to his channel down below in the comments. If you haven't checked him out, I would highly recommend it. He just barely hit 1,000 subscribers. So congrats to you, Sam. Well earned and well deserved. That wraps up up and coming creators. I don't know. I kind of like that. I think I might keep that. I will pick another one for the next episode. And thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave me a comment based off of the theme for the next episode. And I really appreciate you guys watching these. These don't get a ton of views, but I do enjoy making them nonetheless. Anyways, I'll catch you guys next time. But until then, happy building.